Welcome to RCSI's Undergraduate Open Day student panel discussions. And there are currently 3 other panel discussions taking place right now with students from RCSI's MPharm and physiotherapy programs. And we also have a panel discussion with faculty from the new BSc in Advanced Therapeutic Technologies, which will welcome its first student intake in September 2022. So during this 30-minute panel discussion, so we're here, I'm going to be joined by a number of current RCSI medicine students. So we're going to be here from 11:20 to 11:50 a.m. Irish time. We will introduce you to some of our current med students and ask them to tell us about their experiences to date here at RCSI. We'll also try to answer as many questions as we can through the chat box function. So remember, if you do want to chat to a current student after this talk, you can do so through the chat function on the RCSI website, which is available at rcsi.com/Dublin/chat. So my name is Healy and I work in the student recruitment office here in RCSI. And joining me here today is Mariam, who is a 4th-year medicine student from the USA, Brian, a 3rd-year med student from Ireland, Ahad, a 2nd-year med student from Canada, and Umulkhaira, who is a 2nd-year medicine student from Ireland. So Ahad and Umulkhaira, I'm going to start with you first. You're both in 2nd-year med, or correct me if I'm wrong, which means, I think, for the most part, that you're still in the preclinical phase of the program. So can you each tell us a little bit about yourselves, who you are and where you're from? We'll take it from there.
Umulkhaira, you can start if you want.
My name is Umulkhaira. I'm from Dublin. What else should I say about myself?
Just, literally just, you're from Dublin and you're in 2nd-year med. That's sufficient for now. How about you, Ahad? Just a little intro, just so people know who you are.
Sure. I'm Ahad. I'm from Toronto, Canada, and I'm also in 2nd-year med, but I did the foundation year program as well.
Perfect. And Umulkhaira, did you go straight into first year, the 5-year program? Yeah. Okay, perfect. So tell me a little bit, just you guys, to start with, what was it about medicine that appealed to you?
I'll go. So just right off the bat, the idea of just helping people and being more hands-on about it. I've always, since a little kid, been always involved in extracurriculars that involve helping people. For instance, I went to Ecuador and built some schools for kids in underprivileged communities. And I loved how hands-on that was, but I also do love the health aspect of medicine. So just combining the 2 passions, and it just seemed like a fit.
Yeah, absolutely. Umulkhaira, what was important to you when you were choosing universities, and why did you come to RCSI?
So I originally didn't want to go to RCSI.
Okay.
I went to the open day, and when I went to the open day, that's when I was sold, and I was like, I want to come to RCSI. Mostly because it seemed like I was in an environment where everyone was studying healthcare, and that's really what I'm passionate about. And I thought they will take care of me, and also that they take care of their students, in terms of mental health supports and physical health and all that kind of stuff. And I wanted that. And I also really enjoyed the fact that it's an international college. It's very international. And coming from a place where I was the only Black Muslim student, I wanted to be in a place where I wasn't alone and I wasn't sticking out like a sore thumb. So that's why I chose RCSI.
Great, fantastic. So looking back, guys, maybe I'll just go back to Ahad and we'll kind of do it that way. Do you think that you had a good idea of what the medicine program would be like, or did it turn out to be very different to what you expected? And in what way was it different, do you think?
I'd say it's quite different from what I expected, but in all good ways. In Canada, or at least in North America, universities are pretty big. I'd say they're more like a UCD. where it's a big campus. There's a lot of different programs that you can get into, and you meet a lot of different students from different programs. Whereas RCSI, as Umulkhaira said, it's mainly healthcare based. So you're meeting students who are passionate about the same things as you, and also like students either in pharmacy and physio. So it's a very like healthcare based school, which is really nice because you're all motivating each other to do the same thing. And I think that's what helped me through like med school so far, is that everyone's like kind of passionate on the same level, and everyone's like put to the same standard. So it's kind of nice because you're all working together towards this common goal.
Okay, great. Umulkhaira, what do you enjoy most about the program, the medicine program?
I enjoy, mostly because this is like the actual like RCSI school, is the fact that there's a lot of like research opportunities and stuff like that. So like I have already like been able to get involved in like research because it's like advertised a lot to the students, like here's an opportunity to do this, here's another opportunity to do that. And I think that's something that I really enjoyed, mostly because that's like one of the reasons why I wanted to do medicine as well, is to be able to make a difference and help people who, you know, can't do the research and stuff like that.
Yeah, gotcha. And Ahad, what do you like least about the program so far? Just to be controversial.
Ooh, least fact that we're like hybrid. I hate being online, but
Okay.
I mean, it is what it is. You can't do much about it. But yeah, I'd say like sometimes like when you have to do your lectures online, it's not the same, especially when you're learning medicine. It's a lot easier when it's in person.
Yeah, and it's just more social as well, isn't it? Is it, Ahad, can I just ask you, is it a practical course? I mean, you're in kind of this, still in the earlier phase of the program. Have you found it to be practical so far, or is that something that's going to kick off in the later years?
I'd say this is the first year where I felt more, like it's more practical. Yeah.
Sorry,
hearing that feedback.
As I might. Somebody, yeah, I think we're good.
Sorry. So yeah, I'd say like this is the first year I've probably felt that it's practical. It's like the first year where we're learning about pathology. So it's very like you're a doctor now kind of thing, because all of our questions are like patient based, and like you have to diagnose the patient, treat the patient.
Yeah.
And also with the new curriculum that they've implemented from, I think it's been 2 years, so the year above me and my year, we have like a different curriculum than people before us. So now it's like all of pathology in 1 year. And it's honestly, it's grueling, but it is very practical, because you are like basically, when in all your exams, you are basically the doctor, you are treating the patient. And like, it's very cool because you do feel like you're finally getting to that stage.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And Umulkhaira, how would you compare? So you actually, maybe I'll ask you the next question, because you did foundation year as well. So if you're in second med, this is your third year essentially. So how would you compare that first year experience in foundation year to what you're experiencing now?
Yeah, I'd say foundation year was interesting for me. From being from North America, my first semester kind of felt very easy and light, because it's kind of repetitive as to our grade 12 courses that we do in Canada. So we kind of took it easy then. But then second semester really hit, in the sense that you're doing a little more like doctor courses, per se, instead of just fundamental sciences. So things like DDT, which is disease diagnostic and therapeutics. That's like kind of an idea of what you're going to be doing in the future. So I really enjoyed courses like that, but I didn't feel like as though I was like in a medicine course. It just felt that I was doing basic sciences and things like that, but it did prepare me very well for going into medicine. And then once I hit first year and like things like anatomy showed up and all those fun courses, it really did feel like I was in medicine. So I think it wasn't more so about the content, but more so like the overall feeling of being in med school. Like it really did change from FY to first year.
Okay, perfect. So look, we're getting a good few questions in, so I might just move over to Brian and Mariam at this stage. So both of you are in the later years of the program. Thank you so much, Ahad and Umulkhaira. I'll come back to you again in a few minutes. So Brian, you're in third med, Mariam, you're in fourth med. So Mariam, you're currently in the thick of full-time clinical rotations as a fourth med student, right? So maybe first of all, if both of you can just introduce yourselves really briefly and give people a sense of what drew you to a career in medicine.
Sure, I can start.
Yeah.
So hi everyone, my name is Mariam. I'm in fourth year, as Liz was saying, and I'm from Boston in the US. I started RCSI in 2018 as in the 5-year program, so I came straight from high school. And what kind of drew me to medicine was I was always kind of interested in medicine. Both my parents are doctors, and so that kind of caused me to get early exposure to the field. And I also did a lot of shadowing and like worked out in hospitals in high school. So I kind of knew I was interested, and that's what led me to apply into a direct entry program rather than going the more traditional route in the US.
Cool, great. And Brian, so tell us where you're from and why you chose medicine.
Hi, so yeah, my name is Brian. I'm from Tullamore in County Offaly, if any of you know where that is. So yeah, I'm in third year of the direct entry medicine program as well. And I'm kind of different in the sense that I know some of them have said already that they knew all the time they wanted to do medicine. I was really kind of unsure. It was always something that was in the back of my mind. I like really all throughout secondary school, I was like interested in sciences, biology and chemistry and things like that. And I thought that I was maybe going to lean towards maybe kind of working in a lab, kind of that sort of area. But I remember speaking to someone before and saying that I just kind of I needed a social aspect to it. And someone told me like, that's working in a lab is fine, but if you're talking to the test tubes and they're talking back to you, that's a problem. So I needed that social aspect, like needed to be able to like kind of have the patient contact, kind of have the science and kind of the point behind it was actually being able to do something with the science. So that's kind of what drew me towards medicine. Like I don't have any relations in medicine, and I was kind of in the dark a good bit because it can seem very daunting at the beginning. Like there's so much to think about, so much to consider, but it's just something that I was always drawn towards in terms of science. And when you couple it with the clinical part, that's really what drew me towards medicine.
Okay, great. Yeah, well, it's good to kind of get the full spectrum. So some people who knew they wanted to be medicine from really early on, and then there are plenty of other people who, you know, it wasn't something they kind of came to a decision to until probably your leaving cert year. So so that's good. So there's loads of questions coming in. We're not going to be able to get through them all, but I'll just kind of start at the top and just pick a few maybe. And like I'll put it to the floor. So whoever is kind of happy to take the questions, please just fire ahead, because this session is going to fly. We've only got 20 minutes left. So a question in relation to, is there an interview process for CAO HPATH students, and when will they take place, and will they be physical or virtual? So I'm going to answer that really quickly. There are no interviews for CAO students. So if you're an Irish or EU student, you just apply through the CAO for medicine and you sit the HPAT and that's it. So if you're a non-EU student, you apply directly through the website, and it is different. You have to complete an online application with a personal statement, and if you're competitive, you'll be called for interview, and they're all virtual at the moment. So hopefully that answers that. What to expect if I were to take foundation year before going to year one? So Ahad, are you the only person who did foundation?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so you might just take that really briefly. I mean, I think you kind of touched on it already, but just really briefly what to expect if you take foundation year.
Sure. So your first semester would be 3 semesters of fundamental sciences, so bio, chem, physics. And then you're doing 2 year-round courses. So that would be the systems courses, so learning how every system in the body works, and a bit of pathology about it. So a bit of physiology, pathology, and histology for each system. And then your second year would be also including med chem, which is kind of like organic chemistry, but also like mechanisms of drugs and things like that. And then it would also be including DDT, which is the disease diagnostic and therapeutics. That's from what I remember, but I'm not too sure.
Yeah, but you found it beneficial just in the sense that it kind of set the scene then for you to go into first med, or how?
Yeah, for sure. I did find it really helpful, especially coming from Canada. It's a really good integration into medicine, especially like being a new kid from North America, living in Europe. Like it's really nice because it's not a super hard like first year, whereas I know a lot of my friends in first med did have a hard time because it's like right into it. Not to say that it isn't like more difficult, but it is like foundation year does help you because it is like a little easier in that sense.
Okay, brilliant.
Can I just possibly add that?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the context of that question was, but I think I saw a couple of questions there talking about maybe like the choice between doing foundation year and then year one. But I believe now, maybe Liz, you can confirm this, but for CAO candidates, you don't exactly have the choice. Like if you do chemistry for your leaving cert, then you will go into the 5-year direct entry program, and if you don't do chemistry, then you will go into foundation year. It's not kind of like, oh, should I do the foundation year and then go into year one? It's not a choice for CAO candidates, as far as I know.
That's exactly it. And for non-EU, it's not really a choice either. You know, you apply for medicine, and depending on your predicted grades and then what you actually get in your final grades, that will you'll get a conditional offer, and the conditional offer will be a 5 or a 6 year, depending on what exams you've done, what you're predicted to get, or what you've already got. So you're right, but it's good to clarify that actually. Now, some students asking about sort of the importance of, and this is really for non-EU students, the importance of shadowing or volunteering in a hospital, and just concerns about that's not available because of COVID. Mariam or Aha, did you do any sort of shadowing or volunteer work before you applied to med school?
Yeah.
Mariam,
Sure. Yeah, like I said earlier, I did do a bit, but I do understand during COVID that can be a little difficult. I don't think it's by any means necessary to do anything, because a lot of students don't even know they want to study medicine until their final year. But I think just kind of doing activities that you're passionate about. Like I was a gymnast during high school, and a good portion of my interview was just talking about gymnastics and how I devoted my time to something I was passionate to, which they love to see just because they're willing, they see that you're willing to devote your time to things like that. So I really don't think it hinders you at all if you didn't get a chance to shadow or do anything medicine related.
Yeah, just to add to that, like I think like on my CV, I didn't have anything like that. I just had a lot of volunteer experience, and just like a off thing, like when you're going to your interview, like hopefully most of you will get one, if all of you, but when going into it, like just know that they know that this is probably one of your first major interviews in your life, so like they treat it like that and they don't go hard on it. It's not like a medicine based interview, it's just an interview on getting to know you, so that just also, and they really work off your CV, and like they work with what you've provided them, so they're not expecting anything when you enter, they're just working with what you've given them. So just know that like you don't really need like certain criteria, just go with who you are and what you have and you'll be fine.
Perfect. Now, there's somebody called Ivy had put up their hand. So Ivy, if you want to turn on your mic and ask a question, feel free to do so if that's why you raised your hand. Otherwise, we'll just keep going with the questions which are in the chat box.
No problem. You covered my question there with the no experience due to COVID. So thank you for that.
Okay, great, perfect. So another question, if you came from high school, what's the transition like from high school into medical school? Okay, who wants to take that? Might ask Umulkhaira. Do you want to take that, Umulkhaira, just in terms of, was it a big transition to go from secondary school into the medicine program?
For me personally, it was very hard. Mostly because I came from an environment where I was like top of the class, and then I went into an environment where I'm just like average. And I know it sounds very weird, but I was like not used to that, and it kind of messed a bit with my mental health. I was like feeling like I was a failure, and if it came to that, then what I would say is reach out to like the services that, well, RCSI provides a lot of mental health services. Reach out to them and talk to someone, and then it will get better. But I think it's just like a process of like transitioning. It gets hard, but then it gets easier after a while.
That's a big thing, I think, when you're going into courses which have very high points. You like every student that goes into those programs is a high achiever in their school, and then suddenly you're in a class with everybody is a high achiever. So it is a massive transition, actually. That's something that I didn't think about, but I can imagine that's a huge one. So Brian, can you give me a sense of what's the everyday schedule of a first year medical student at RCSI like, if you can think back to your first year?
Yeah, so a first year medical student, like it's not, I know I'm guessing a lot of questions there about how balancing your time and things like that. It's not like it is, you've got, say comparing it to other courses in Ireland, you've got more hours like actually on campus studying in lectures, but you shouldn't let it take over your life. There's no need for it to spend so much time studying. Like you do your basic sciences in first year, you do your kind of fundamentals, which is very very similar to kind of your chemistry and your biology from Leaving Cert, and then you do some of the basic. You just cover all the systems. You do the cardiorespiratory system, the GI system, all of them, and you learn the anatomy and the physiology. So you're basically learning what all the organs look like and how they work. So that's basically all of first year. And like your days are typically, you'd be in most days from 9 o'clock, and you'd have maybe the lectures are always, which I think is a great thing, because like some of my siblings are in other colleges and they have like 2 or 3 hour lectures. Our lectures are always only 1 hour slots, or an hour and a half if you're doing kind of a practical exam, practical kind of anatomy lab or something like that. So you'll have possibly a couple of hours in the morning, then you have an hour off, maybe 3 more hours of lectures, maybe a tutorial in between times, and then you'll be finished maybe about 4 or 5 o'clock depending on the day. And kind of sometimes with the modules, they tend to kind of front load, so you learn a lot kind of at the first couple of weeks of when you're starting a module, and then towards the last couple of weeks you have less lectures, less hours, gives you time to kind of catch up, go back over what you do. So the most important thing is being able to just keep up with the work. Do a constant amount of work all the time. Don't leave everything to the end and then have to catch up, because it's kind of compounded learning. The lecture that you learned before is affecting the lecture that you're going to do tomorrow. So it's not, if you let it all build up, then it might cause you stress, and it might cause, like for 2 weeks before your exams, you might have to study all day, every day, which nobody wants, and it's not effective either from actually learning perspective. But if you're kind of organized, you'll have plenty of time to go to your lectures, do your study, and then do your social activities, do your sports, get involved with as many clubs and societies as you can, and go out, see Dublin, there's lots of, like, there's something for everyone really, because you're in the city centre. You're close to everything really. So there's a typical day, if you structure yourself well, like it's not all taken up with study or all taken up with medicine.
Perfect. Okay, we have 2 people with their hands raised, Loretta and Emerald, and and Hala as well. So Loretta, do you have a question, or do you want to turn on your mic and ask the question now?
Yeah, is there any way you could be like a traveling doctor? I think it's called like a locum tenens position, where like you travel around and you help people from undeveloped countries. Is that like, could you do that at like RCSI? I'm not really sure.
After you graduate from RCSI, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the world's your oyster really. Once you graduate and you get your internship and you're fully qualified, you can go into any type of medical career really after that. Like the medical degree is preparing you for, it could be general medicine, it could be, surgery, pathology, pediatrics, if you want to work with volunteer, if you want to work in the third world and developing, absolutely. Hopefully that answers your question there. Emerald, do you have a question for us there if you want to turn on your mic?
Yes, I do have a question. What are the scholarship opportunities like at RCSI?
There are no scholarships for medicine in RCSI for non-EU students. So what you can do, if you email admissions, are you non-EU or Irish or EU?
I'm Irish.
Okay, so if you email admissions@rcsi.ie, we'll be able to confirm with you what opportunities are available if you're applying through the CEO. It's on the website as well. If you go to the RCSI website and you look under the undergraduate section for access and scholarships, there's information on that there. So, but if you email admissions@rcsi.ie, we'll be able to send you the information that's on the website. Okay, and Hala, do you have a question for us?
Hi, yes, I do. I'm just wondering about living in Dublin in general. Like, what's it like? Because as you know, not all of us live anywhere close to Ireland, and we live like outside. And for me, I live like very far away. And I'm just wondering, what would it be like to live there, and if there's anything that we should be concerned about, or anything of these sort of things.
Which one of you guys want to take that? Maybe Ahad or Mariam, because you're both from outside of Ireland.
Yeah, so RCSI for your first year provides, they have a few buildings. Their own buildings are Mercer and Millen House, which is just about, I think, a 2-minute walk from campus. And then you also have, they also rent blocks out in different student accommodations, which is, and for people who don't know what like a student accommodation is in Ireland, at least, it's basically any student from any university can live there. So it's a great way to meet people from different universities. I stayed in one of them, the New Mill location, which is about a 15-minute walk from campus. And then they now have one at Scape, which is now even closer. I believe it's like a 5-minute walk. But there are plenty of options, especially for your first year. And it is very safe because they have full-time security and they are pretty gated. So it's safe in that sense. And you are in city center Dublin, so everything's very accessible. There's a grocery store, you can get things delivered. Even when walking at night, it is pretty safe still. I'd always say just walk with a friend just to be safe, but overall it's pretty easy and accessible.
Great, thank you. Shira, do you have a question? Do you want to turn on your microphone?
I just wanted to know that are the interview based on panel based or MMI, so multi-minute interview?
Sorry, could you repeat that again?
Are they based panel based or multi-minute interview? The interview?
The interviews are only for non-EU students, and they're not face to face. They ever since COVID happened, they've been virtual. Now a lot of them would have been online interviews anyway, but we did, for example, we used to travel to North America and different parts of the world, but now all of the interviews are online, so they're all through Zoom actually. So yeah, so normally what happens is if you're a non-EU student, you have between the 1st of November and the 1st of February to apply. And then during February, the applications are shortlisted for interview, and the interviews normally take place then on Zoom from kind of late February right through to April. Okay, so we have Anna G. Anna G, do you have a question for our students?
Yeah, thank you. I was just curious, is the course itself more continuous assessment based, or is it more just an exam at the end of the year and then you repeat it the next year, or?
Okay, who wants to take this one?
I'll take that if you want.
Yeah.
Through first year and second year, the exams that I've done so far, it's the majority of them you have clinical or you have continuous assessment throughout all the modules. So in first year you get like small quizzes, like maybe 2 or 3 over the course of the first semester and the second semester, and there were like 5-10%. So you rack up your little bits of continuous assessment all throughout. Then you might have to do a presentation for a certain module, or you can do so for a first year. A lot of your course is based off anatomy, so you do what are called card signings, where you're actually in with the cadavers and you're being questioned on the different anatomy parts of the body. So you're getting your marks kind of all the way up along, and so you could have I'd say maybe between 20 and 30% of the exam done before you actually go to your final exam. And then when it comes to the final exam, it's you have to get over 50% to pass. And that was the same throughout maybe first and second year for me so far. I'm not really sure what in terms of the clinical years, there's different kind of, it's more your in-person exams, like testing your clinical skills. So it's not as much weighted on the written exams. Maybe Mariam might know a bit more about that.
Yeah, so once you reach the clinical years, you mostly just have end of rotation exams, which are more clinical based. And then we also have end of year exams. So it's just a combination of everything.
Thank you so much, guys. Okay, we're running out of time, so I'm just going to maybe give a few last minutes to try and catch a few final questions. So maybe if whoever has their hand raised, I'll just take those last few questions. But if we're going to have to keep the answers really short, unfortunately. So this has completely flown by, but hopefully it's been useful for anybody who's joined us today. So Sami, have you got a quick question for us there?
Yeah, so I just want to know, like, is it feasible to work alongside your studies? So like, you know, sort of like a side income or whatever.
I can take that. Yeah, I work, I'm a waiter. And most places in Dublin, at least, are pretty flexible, especially during COVID now. They've gotten a lot more flexible. Like I only work sometimes 2 times a month or twice a week. It could be like whatever hours I want. Like that's at least my job. And you can find definitely a lot of places that are like that. And then like whenever I have a break, suppose like wintertime, like I'm going back to Dublin on Sunday, and then I can work for a few more days, but like it is very manageable. And like I also do societies, so like it is overall very manageable.
Perfect, thank you so much. So Samara, do you have a quick question for us there?
Yeah, I do. My question is, do you guys offer in-person tours by any chance?
Not at the moment, not really since COVID hit. So there may be in-person tours again at some stage during the year, but I would say not during the spring. It'll be at least summertime before that's available. But we will put a notice up on the website if that becomes available again. So no problem. Zal, do you have a quick question for us?
Yes, thank you so much. I just wanted to ask, is there, like, how does the tutoring take place? Is there a tutoring like face-to-face system with your teachers, or is it like a whole classroom? I just wanted to ask that.
Okay.
I can answer that really quickly. So most of the lectures are pretty much with the whole year. So that'll be like 300 people sitting in a lecture room with a prof. But I would say our tutorials can be smaller groups. So that's normally like 10 to 15 people, and that's for more clinical skills and stuff like that. But I would say the profs are very approachable. If you ever have questions, you can email them and they always get back to you really quickly. So the 300 size class isn't, you still get a one-on-one relationship with the professor if you want that.
Brilliant. Okay. I'm just going to take 2 more questions. So I'm really sorry to everybody who asked a question and didn't get it addressed today, but please do use the opportunity to chat to our students through the chat function on our website. If you still have questions for us, or you can send your questions to admissions@rcsi.ie. So I'm going to take the question from Jane and Ariane, and then we're going to wrap up if that's okay. So Jane, do you have a quick question for us there?
Hi, I was just wondering, like as an Irish student, what subjects would be useful or like necessary to do the course for Leaving Cert?
Umulkhaira or Brian, do you want to take that one?
I can answer from like my perspective.
Yeah.
I think I haven't honestly, I haven't really thought that much about the Leaving Cert subjects, because it isn't really in depth into biology per se. It's really based on medicine and what you'll need in medicine. I don't know if Brian has another perspective, but for me, I think it's not really something that I think about too much. The subjects that I did in the Leaving Cert, it's very easy to like catch up if you said, oh, I didn't do that well in biology or chemistry in my Leaving Cert, oh, I'm not going to do well in medicine. It's not going to be like that.
Yeah, I suppose the main thing really is that if you want to do the 5-year program, you have to do chemistry and a lab science. So it's just to be aware of that. But I mean, that's just interesting that it's not like those subjects, you absolutely need them in order to do medicine. It's just to be aware of the minimum entry requirements, that you need a lab, you need a minimum H5 in a lab science to be eligible for the 6-year program. And then if you want to do it in 5 years, you will need to have a minimum H5 in chemistry and either biology or physics. So it's just important to look at the matriculation and make sure that you meet those requirements and that you're doing those subjects. But thank you, Umulkhaira. And finally, Ariane Rai, do you have a quick question for us there before we wrap up?
Yes, I do. Yeah, so I just wanted to know about the diversity at our CSI, especially when it comes to gender, ethnicity, and background in general.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll probably take that really briefly, and like any of the students can chip in and just give their own view on it. But, you know, RCSI is probably one of the most international medical schools in the world. We have over 70% of our students come from outside the European Union. So we're really diverse. Over 300 students join the medical program every year. So we have students from Ireland, from Europe. We have students from, you know, North America, Canada, the USA, Trinidad and Tobago. We have lots of students from the Middle East, lots of students from Malaysia, Singapore, you know, so we have over 60 nationalities represented. And I think Umulkhaira kind of touched on that just in terms of, you know, it's somewhere where she feels, you know, like it's so international and there's so many different ethnicities and stuff like that. But I might just hand it over to the guy, you know, to the students just for one last sort of, just to give their own take on it, just in case I'm completely wrong about that. Does anybody else want to chip in there?
No, I could just add that even just going right into foundation year, like I met most of my friends through societies, and the way societies works are there's like cultural, sports, and like different like groups, and then they like split off into different societies from there. So in cultural societies, like I'm part of PIBS, so is Mariam. That's where I met her, and she's one of my closest friends. And then there's also people from CAS, which is the Caribbean African Society, which I have many friends from. I have friends from the Middle Eastern Society. Like they really make it accessible to you, and it's very diverse. I again like just met most of my friends just through that.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, everybody. I that just went so fast, and I really just want to thank in particular Mariam, Ahad, Brian, and Umulkhaira, who joined us today, because it was just great to get your take on everything. And I hope that you found the panel discussion useful. If you have any questions, remember, for our students, you can chat to us online through our website at rcsi.com/Dublin/chat. But for now, take care, enjoy the rest of the open day, and we'll talk to you again. Hopefully we'll see some of you in September 2022. And thanks again. Cheers, bye.